This happened in 1973. The person who experienced this incident is from Lahore. He narrates that at the time, his source of income was very limited. One of his friends advised him to start a poultry farm, as the industry wasn't very widespread back then and only a few people were involved in it. This meant there was a lot of scope in the field and good business potential. He liked his friend's advice and began collecting information from people involved in the poultry business. The work had good profit margins and was also interesting. Since childhood, he had a fondness for keeping animals and being around them. He started looking for land to begin the work. He found a very cheap piece of land in a village outside Lahore. It was a large plot where he could easily build a shed and 2 to 3 rooms to store feed and other supplies. The land was surrounded by fields, but one thing surprised him. Although there was farming all around, this particular land was completely barren. The land had become as hard as stone, and it seemed impossible for such dry land to exist in the middle of such a green area. When he asked the owner about it, he gave a strange explanation. During the war, a bomb had fallen on that piece of land, which is why it had turned barren, but he couldn't see any signs of a bomb explosion. Still, what attracted him was that the land was being sold for a throwaway price. He thought, whatever the case, I just need to build something here. He bought the land and started construction with 3 to 4 laborers. The construction wasn't very extensive, just a shed and 2 rooms. But even that would take about a month. The land was so dry and hard that the laborers couldn't dig into it. They advised him to let water sit on the land for at least a week to soften it enough to dig. But something strange started happening. Every night they'd leave water on the land, and every morning it would be completely dry, just like before. This continued for a whole week. When the land didn't soften, even after that, the laborers were forced to start digging anyway. A task that should have taken 2 to 3 days ended up taking 15 to 20 days. During the digging, they began witnessing eerie things. The workers said they would hear someone calling their names and even telling them to stop digging. The owner brushed it off as their imagination, given how hard times were and how desperately they needed the job. Then the most terrifying event occurred. Human bones were found during the digging. They were very old, but everyone got scared. They informed the police, and construction was stopped during the investigation. When work resumed, new problems began. On the first day, a laborer was injured. He claimed someone threw a brick at him from above, though no one was there. This kind of strange injury became a daily routine. One laborer would get pushed, another would get hurt. Eventually, they all refused to work, saying that jinns inhabited the land and didn't want the poultry farm to be built. One of them told the owner, "This land is barren because where jinns live, nothing grows." But he had already invested in the land, so he brought in new laborers, but the same disturbances continued. He had to change laborers 5 times to complete this small construction project. Finally, the poultry farm was built, and chickens were brought in. A watchman was hired to care for them. He was new and unaware of past events. Yet soon, he too complained that the place felt heavy and the chickens were terrified at night, as if they were seeing something. One day, the owner visited the farm and found the watchman very disturbed. When asked, the man said he saw someone roaming at night, but when he followed them, they vanished into thin air. The owner scolded him for being careless, but the watchman insisted that was not a human being. Then chickens began disappearing. Suspecting the watchman, the owner interrogated him. But the man swore on his children that he hadn't done anything wrong. He said, "You have the only key. How could I take them?" Still, the owner didn't believe him and fired him. A new watchman was hired, who came with his wife and children. After just a few days, he also started reporting strange events. Chickens getting scared at night, injured from jumping around as if reacting to something unseen. When the owner asked if a cat could be scaring them, the watchman said he stayed outside the shed for an hour after hearing noises, but never saw a thing. Within days, the new watchman also resigned, saying, "This place isn't right." When asked why, he said, "People come here at night and roam around." Now it was clear something was very wrong with the land. Still, the owner kept replacing watchmen, but every new one would quit within days due to injuries or sightings. One morning, he found a watchman with a bandaged head and blood on the ground. The man said a brick hit him from behind, though no one was there. The owner then hired a very religious man, hoping his prayers and Quran recitation would keep jinns away. But even he later said, while praying, "Someone pulled my shirt so hard, my shoulder got injured." Still, he promised to stay. One morning, the owner visited and found blood all over, but no watchman. Just as he panicked, the watchman arrived and asked him to follow him. Inside the cage, 30 to 40 chickens lay dead with their throats slit, but without a drop of blood. Then he showed the owner his own room. Blood was smeared on the walls and even inside a pan. The watchman asked if he had seen the blood at the farm's gate. The owner said yes. The watchman then said, "Let me advise you. I've seen dreams. The beings who live here tried to warn you during construction, but you ignored all the signs. Now they've sent a final warning. If you don't stop, next time, it won't just be the chickens. It could be your own neck." The watchman said the jinns spared him because he prayed, but he couldn't stay any longer. He packed his things and left without even taking his wages. The owner sat outside the cage in despair, crying, and eventually fell asleep. In his dream, an elderly man came and said, "Son, we've lived here for thousands of years. If someone invades your home, wouldn't you be hurt? We tried to warn you, but you wouldn't listen. That's why I came myself. Tear down this building and return the land to how it was." The owner pleaded, "This poultry farm is all I have. If I destroy it, what will happen to me?" The old man smiled and said, "If you do this noble act for us, we will do something good for you." The scent coming from the old man was unlike anything he had ever smelled. Beautiful and otherworldly. When he woke up, it didn't feel like a dream. The fragrance still lingered in the air.